All right, welcome back to the Truth Seeking Network. So I'm back again, and I'm making another video. This time it's going to be about these 200 black cities that were drowned. And the reason why I'm making a video on this video is because when they tell our history, they always tell our history with a twist, with a lie. And I'm going to show you that in this video because the video has a lot of truth in it. Don't get me wrong. It has a lot of truth in it, but the lie is bigger than the truth that's in the video because it always wants to show us, like after slavery, that we created these cities and towns. And that's just simply not the truth, as I'm going to show you in this video. Because they always use that same narrative, like after we were freed from slaves, that are like it's like all of us were like slaves all across America. That's not true. But that's what mainstream tells you, that white people were our masters and we were slaves to them the whole time. That's not true. I don't know where people get. I mean, these lies have got to stop. They always show that the fact that we were slaves, all were slaves. We were, yeah, they did this. We was a slave. And everybody was not slaves. We need to get that straight. Y'all need to do the real research on this. Everybody was not slaves. Okay, America was already a melanated continent. That's what they're not telling you. These cities were already here. We had cities 5 times bigger than London. And that's the truthful reason of why the cities have been erased. They put them on the lakes, they burned them down, they destroyed them because they didn't want the world to know that there was melanated people or so-called African Americans that created this. Because that would go against Darwin and all the rest of them about us being inferior. They can't show that. They don't want to show that these areas were all indigenous or American Indians, which were melanated black people. They didn't want to show that. And they can't. So they want to say after slavery that so after they were freed us, we came up with these cities. Now, does that make sense? So and then they got jealous of us and then they put them underwater? That sounds silly. So after slavery, they freed us. We built cities within 30, 40 years. We built all these cities up. And then the white people got jealous, got mad because of our progress and how well we were doing, flourishing, that they got upset. Now, where did you hear that? Where did you read that at? Or where did you hear that history from? Where white people freed us, and then all of a sudden we just built cities. I mean, what happened? I mean, come on now, y'all. Let's think. The 40 acres in the mule, right? Let's think about this 40 acres in the mule thing. Wasn't we supposed to get 40 acres in mule? Did they get it? No, they reneged on it. So how did they build cities then? Where did they get the land from? If after the Civil War, and they didn't give you the cities, the land, then how did you get land to build all these cities? Where did you get it from? Where did you get the money? Where did you get the materials? You follow what I'm saying? So none of it makes sense because they don't never make it make sense. So if you believe their little scenarios, then you don't use your brain to think. But we know after the Civil War, that's not what happened. They didn't give them 40 acres in the mule. They reneged on that. We own cities, and also and we're not going to get into the Civil War thing. That's going to take it out this video a whole different way. But the Civil War was not about freeing us. Europeans were coming into America, and the people who was in America was us. And this is the history that they don't want to tell you. They don't want you to know this history. They want you to believe that, oh yeah, they created everything. We were just slaves, and after slavery, we just learned how to build cities. And we just start building these cities up within a 30, 40-year span. I mean, that don't even make sense. But we're gonna go through this video and I'm gonna show you some things. I'm gonna let it play a little bit. I'm not gonna play all of it, but I'm just gonna show you.
It's tranquil, almost serene, until you realize the dark secret that's hidden beneath the beautiful surface. What if I told you that an entire city is beneath those waters? You heard me right. Not just any town, but a black community that was once thriving. It wasn't a mistake. These cities were wiped away deliberately, and its story was buried under decades of silence. This isn't some haunting historical tale from the past, but the reality of over 200 black cities across the United States. These cities were places where black families who came fresh from the horrors of slavery dared to...
That you saw how they put the narrative? We came fresh from the horrors of slavery. And what did we do? Huh? We built cities? Is that what we did? Let's see.
dream of a better future. They built an entire town that had homes, schools, and businesses that stood as symbols of hope and resilience.
How did they build these towns? According to the story, you didn't get your 40 acres and a mule. So they built entire towns. These towns were already here. That's what they don't want to show you. That's what they don't want to tell you. The towns were already here. They didn't build them after the Civil War. They didn't build them after slavery, because a lot of our people were never enslaved. And that's what they're not telling everybody. A lot of our people were never enslaved. They wanted you to believe that all of us came from slavery. That is simply not the truth.
But what happened next is shocking. These communities became targets of resentment and destruction. The supremacy didn't just want to suppress black success, but also wanted to erase it from existence. And so, under the guise of progress, the government stepped in, flooding these communities and drowning their stories, their legacies, and their dreams beneath the waters. Why would the government do this? And how could such a deliberate act of erasure happen on such a large scale? This isn't just a story of lakes and dams.
How? Because America cities were so-called our city. They were our cities already. They wanted to erase the history of us owning the land. And that's why we're the only people on the planet whose names keep changing. From black to colored to, we were Indian, we were colored, we were black, mulatto. Now we're African American, colored, you name it. We're the only people whose names keep changing because they wanted to hide our identity, who we really were. And these cities were already here. A lot of these cities were already here. And they wanted to hide who made them. So they flooded them out. They covered them up. But this didn't happen after the Civil War. And that's the biggest lie. I mean, think about this. America is huge. You think they just had cities in other parts of the world? America was a place like no other. That's why they called it the New World. It wasn't just forests and trees everywhere. No, they had cities already here because people have been here for thousands of years. That's what they don't want to tell you. I mean, I mean, you have pyramids all through the South America. You had cities already here. Cities were all across Americas, North and South. But they want to make you believe that, oh, it wasn't here. No, that's why they covered them up. They burned them down. They destroyed a lot of them.
But one that was inspired by racism as a weapon against black progress. This is a dark chapter in history that most people are not familiar with. A deliberate attempt to ensure these black cities were wiped away and forever forgotten. In this video, we're exposing these hidden stories and bringing them to light. Get comfortable as we dive into the depths of America's water to uncover how systemic racism led to the literal and figurative drowning of black progress. Before we dive in, like this video and subscribe to this channel, let's dive in. To truly understand what led to the drowning of these black cities, we must first know what they represented: resilience, innovation, and hope. After the Civil War, when the slaves became free, black Americans found themselves in a tight situation.
See,
Freedom had been declared, but equality was far from reality.
this is a lie.
Many former slaves and their descendants sought refuge in building their community where they could excel and be free from the oppression of the whites. From the late 19th century to the early 20th century, these black communities had made significant progress.
Hey, that's a lie. And that's what I want to say. These things, oh my gosh. You see what I'm saying? After slavery, we got together and made progress. How did we get the land? If the government was in control of everything, where did we get all this land from that we created these 200 cities? You see what I'm saying? These cities were already here. They didn't come about after we got free from slave. We owned the cities. That's what the race wars in the 1900s were all about. And I'm gonna show you when they was bringing these people here, what happened. This is what happened. That we owned all these cities. And they started bringing immigrants in, Europeans in, and they were shipping them here by the thousands on these large ships. Then they kept coming in, and it was the government that kept bringing these people in here. And this is what happened. And this is when the race wars happened in the late 1800s, the early 1900s, and so forth. You see the Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921, and all before that. They're so-called Black Wall Street. They didn't cover. They're not descendants of slaves. These were proud indigenous Americans. And we're not just black people. I mean, we got to stop this black thing. Or we black, or we African American, all these fake names to our hide identity, black cities, black towns. Like we didn't, like we were already in this land, and they know this. And that's why they had to cover it up. But they have this twisted history that they give you, like in this video, and to make you think we just created these towns after we got free from slavery. I mean, come on, y'all. How we just come off of Africa, come over the ships, right? Get off the ships. We were looking at, according to the movie, we were living in the jungles over there. Then we came over here, became slaves for some years after we got free. Then we decided to build cities. Really? No, man. We were already advanced people here already. We were already innovative. We already had resilience here. And a lot of our people were never, ever slaves. Never. And that's the part of history they don't want to tell you. They want you to believe that everybody's families were slaves, that we all are descendants of slaves. That is simply not the truth.
Some towns like Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is popularly known as Black Wall Street, and Eatonville, Florida, rose as beacons of success. Beyond being residential settlements, they were centers of innovation. Schools were established, businesses prospered, and Black Americans proved that they could achieve greatness despite the odds stacked against them. And
And that's another thing, y'all. We didn't have to prove anything to anyone. You see how he says who are we proving it to? White people? To Europeans that we can do stuff on our own? Before they came to America, we were already here. We come from the people who built the pyramids. We created mathematics and all these things. Now we got to prove ourselves. See how they say that? You see how they twisted language around? And that's what's so disheartening about the whole thing. And the fact is, a lot of our people believe this stuff because they don't know anything. They don't do any research. So they believe these little scenarios that they come up with. Oh yeah, once they let us out of slavery, yeah, we built towns like Black Wall Street. And then the black people, they came and got jealous and burnt it down. No, the cities were ours already. We didn't just do that in 30 years. We didn't get the 40 acres in the mule. Hello? They ain't this government just didn't give up towns and a big, large area to us. That sounds silly. If they owned it, they didn't give it to us. They didn't never own it. That's the lies of a history that we've been told, that they owned everything. They didn't. We did. We owned everything here. And they were jealous. Now, how could they get rid of us? How could they take over our towns? By shipping in more immigrants to America, more Europeans here. And that started the race wars in the late 1800s and early 1900s. That created the race wars, where the government, not only did they bury our towns, they were bringing people from for all the European nations here on them ships. And those people had to go somewhere and live somewhere. And those people were jealous of our stuff. And those people came in the middle of the night, they were murdering and lynching and killing people in our cities, in our towns. This is what really happened. This government didn't give us those lands after the Civil War. If they had those lands, they would have never gave it to us. We already had it. And they had to figure a way to get it from us. And this is the history that they don't teach. So those people, they brought those people, those immigrants over in them ships. And I'm going to show you that. And then that's what started all those race wars from the 1800s, all the way to 1900s, 1920s, all the way to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and beyond. This was going on across the country. I did a video on it. Matter of fact, I'm going to show the video I did on it. I'm going to pop it up and put it in this video, but I'm not going to play it, but y'all can go watch the video. So here's the video right here. I did this video, let's see, a year ago. It shows a year ago. Okay, so y'all go check this video out. For yourselves. And you can see what happened here for real. We owned everything. We own these towns. They didn't own this stuff. But all through history, they tell you their history. They're not telling you the true history.
Challenges that dropped their back to the ground. But their success did not just pass by like the wind. It attracted the interest of the whites, and it became a threat. White neighbors became envious, and a deeply ingrained belief in black inferiority and a growing resentment. How could a people they once enslaved now exceed them in wealth, education, and influence? Systemic racism became a lifestyle. The same government that promised freedom and justice for the people began to create laws and policies designed to frustrate the progress of blacks. Jim Crow laws promoted segregation and denied black citizens of their fundamental rights. These policies ensured black families couldn't buy homes in prosperous neighborhoods, sidelining them from wealth-building opportunities. Despite these barriers, black communities continued to progress. During the early 1900s, many of these towns were entirely independent. Banks owned by blacks, schools, hospitals, and churches provided everything their residents needed. But their prosperity came at a dangerous cost. They became targets. White supremacists unleashed acts of violence, and entire towns were burned to the ground during race massacres. As if the violence wasn't enough, they employed a new measure of destruction, one that disguised to be progress. Infrastructure projects like dams, reservoirs, and lakes became tools of oppression. Under the pretense of public good, governments declared eminent domain that forced black families off their land. These communities that were built on dreams and hard work were drowned and erased from the map and memory of people. What we see today as tranquil bodies of water were thriving centers of black excellence. The question is, why hasn't history remembered them? Why were their stories given a blind eye? The answer lies in the intentional act of systemic racism. This act was determined to harm black communities and to ensure their successes were forgotten. These cities weren't just towns, they were legacies. Legacies that, despite being buried underwater, demand to rise again. The conscious drowning of black cities across the United States wasn't just a historic accident, but a calculated act of systemic oppression. The government used eminent domain laws and infrastructure projects as cover to carry out a campaign that would erase thriving black communities and replace them with lakes, reservoirs, and dams. Under these calm waters are the physical remnants of homes and businesses, and also the buried legacies and stories of black resilience and progress. During the early 20th century, as the country grew, large-scale infrastructure projects became crucial to meet the demands for electricity, water, and flood control. The government used eminent domain with a claim of private property for public use as a tool to seize land. However, black communities were disproportionately targeted, with almost no regard for their rights or any form of compensation. These projects weren't just about utility, they served a dual purpose. Under the guise of progress, black communities were brought down to nothing, and their lands were often deemed expendable. In reality, these projects became a strategy to dismantle the economic and social backbone of thriving black cities. An infamous example of a drowned black city is Oscarville, Georgia, beneath Lake Lanier. During the early 1900s, Oscarville was an active black community in Forsyth County, Georgia. It had a good number of schools, churches, and farms that were established by industrious black families. But racial violence changed the whole narrative. In 1912, after baseless accusations against black residents, white mobs forced almost the entire black population out of the county.
When was this? 1912. So like I said, a lot of this stuff, it has a lot of truth in this video. That's why I said I'm not going to shun it all the way, because it showed that. And that's what I showed in my past videos. In the 1900s, that's when the majority of whites were coming to America. In the 1800s, and they were pushing out, and the government was helping them, and they came in and they pushed us out of our towns and our cities. So we were here. We didn't just come out of slavery and just get and that mass that many people that quick to create towns and cities. You understand that? There's no way that could have happened in that little amount of time. You're talking about from 1863 till 1900. No, that's not what happened. They had to bring these Europeans from overseas here, and they kept flooding them in by the thousands because they didn't have enough army to take on all of us. So they kept bringing them in and bringing them in and bringing them in. And they were jealous of what we had. And then in the middle of the night, these people were coming in there and slaughtering and killing our people and burnt our cities to the ground. In some cases, they took over the homes, the beds where we were sleeping in, took over our farms and our lands. That's what happened for real. But they're not telling the truth. So we need to just come out of slavery and build cities. The cities were here. And they were flooding America through the 18th. The majority of the immigrants or the Europeans got here within that time frame. And that's what most people don't know. They want to believe they've been here the whole time. No. They come from immigrants. And these people came in here and they slaughtered. The descendants today you see that's running a lot of these businesses and places like that, they are the descendants of these people who came on them ships. And our people were pushed out of our lands and to where we're in the projects. That's why they call them projects. They moved us out of all the best areas. They took over our stuff and they pushed us into areas, small areas, what we call now the ghetto or the projects. They built little shanty towns for us to let stay in.
They went as far as seizing their lands, and by the 1950s, the government flooded the area to create Lake Lanier. Today, the lake is a popular recreation site, but only a few visitors know it sits in a community that was destroyed by racial hatred. Another city is Boynton, Alabama. Boynton was another thriving black residential settlement that provided economic independence and a sense of community to its residents. In the mid-20th century, it was drowned to create the Walter F. George Reservoir. The families displaced by this project received little compensation, and their historic legacy was swallowed by the rising waters. Another city you didn't know about is the Tennessee Valley. During the New Deal era, the Tennessee Valley Authority, TVA, was tasked with building dams and reservoirs to provide electricity and flood control. Although the projects benefited many, black communities were often given up in the process. Thousands of black families were displaced, their homes and towns flooded, while white landowners were more likely to receive fair compensation.
So now y'all can see, right? What all these black landowners had of all this land that the white people had to come and take. So who was here first? Who was here first, y'all? If the Europeans had to come to take our lands, take lands that we were already inhabited on, then who were the inhabitants that owned the land first? See, all you have to use is your brain and use common sense. And yeah, but they want to feed you the narrative that they brought you from slave ships. They brought you on the land. They freed you. All of a sudden you amass these great cities, great towns. And then they said, no, we want all our stuff back. Because these people, they came and built all these great towns real quickly. And within 30, 40-year period, we built all these towns and cities across the nation. Then all of a sudden, now all the white people got upset now and got mad. So what were the white folk doing? What were they doing while we was building towns? Well, they just sitting back watching us. Look at them black folk over there building them down their towns. Look at there. They just building all them towns over there. Look at them houses look better than ours. Hey, baby, look at that. Look at this. And they just sat back and watched it until they built full cities. And then they finally decided to go in and destroy them, really. So they weren't going to destroy them while they were building them. They destroyed them after they were built and everything was done, running real well. And they had progress and they were living good lives, wealthy lives. And all of a sudden, that's when they decided to go in there and wipe them out. You see how foolish that sounds? They would have wiped them out while they were building them. They would have stopped them before they even got progress. They didn't wait till they were wealthy. They had money and having good lives, and all of a sudden they came because these people came off them ships. And that's when they were bringing these people into America. And that's why the race war started then in the late 1800s to early 1900s, because they were bringing them on them ships. And I'm going to show you that.
Government not only facilitated the destruction of black cities, but actively ensured their stories were buried. Records of these communities were rarely preserved, and the descendants of displaced families were left without a voice.
That's true.
The establishment of these lakes and reservoirs wasn't a random act of development, but an intentional choice that prioritized white progress over black lives. In many scenarios, the displacement was accompanied by violent intimidation. Black residents were often given short notice before being evicted. Those who resisted were threatened, or even worse, just to make them comply through fear. Before the flooding of these communities,
see that? So again, who owned the land? We did. We were being displaced out of our own land. Where was the Native American at? See, we didn't even go there, did we? Where was the Native Americans? You know, the Tontos. Where were they at? If all these so-called black people are everywhere, then what happened to the Native American? If there were 200 black cities, y'all, where was the Native American at? Where were they? Because the so-called black people are the Aboriginal or the original Americans. We were the people that were all in these cities across the nations, across this whole big country. It was our cities. It was our towns. We owned everything, not the Native American, not the $5 Indians, not the ones that Hollywood created, the ones that you have on TV. No, we owned all of this. And that's why you see our towns. You do not see a Native American nowhere. because the American, the Indian was us.
Many were already under siege. Incidents of racial violence like the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre and the 1919 Red Summer created an environment where black towns became vulnerable. These communities that were once devastated by violence became easy targets for so-called progress. The drowning of black cities is one of the earliest examples of environmental racism. White communities were often spared or adequately compensated, while black towns were disproportionately chosen for displacement. This pattern echoes today in scenarios where black neighborhoods are subjected to harmful environmental.
Okay, I'm ending right there. So if y'all want to watch this video, y'all can finish it up on YouTube yourselves. But I'm going to go ahead and end this, and I'm going to go share my screen and get back over here. We're going to see what happened after slavery, so-called blacks, okay? So you see what I typed up above right here. I said, what did most slaves do after being freed, right? And that's what it says. After being freed, most former slaves were forced to continue working on the same plantations as sharecroppers, meaning they rented land from their former owners and paid a portion of their crops as rent, often leaving them in a cycle of debt, economic dependence due to lack of land ownership and access to capital. So you see in the video claimed what? That we all got together and then we decided to build these cities after the Civil War. You see, so, but this is a total different thing. No, we didn't have land. It's according to this, we went back to our former owners and basically we didn't have any land ownership. See, lack of land ownership and access to capital. So in the video, they wanted to show that we after the land, we got together and we built these cities. But how are we gonna build cities if we didn't even get the 40 acres in the mule? You see what I'm saying? So that's why the history is messed up. But that's their history. And they want to lie to us and they want to keep twisting things around. And that's why I said, I don't blame the people who did the video. They did a good job in that video. They did a good job with the video because this did show a lot of the truth. But the lie was bigger, that we did all this after slavery. And that's simply not the truth. And the truth is, a majority of our people were not slaves. We owned the land. And that's why they came up with the slavery story. And see, once they controlled and wiped our cities out and wiped our land out and controlled the narrative, they control the history. That's why they call it his story. And then they fed that story to us, just like they gave us Jesus. Go back and watch my Christian videos, and you see what I'm talking about. It's so easy to prove. So let's see. Key points about life after emancipation for former slaves. Sharecropping. This became the primary form of employment for many free slaves, where they worked on land owned by white landowners and received a share of the crops they produced, often leading to ongoing financial struggles. So according to this, the white people owned the land. But according to the video, we owned our own cities. And then we were still struggling. Listen to this. Limited job opportunities beyond agricultural opportunities or skilled labor were often restricted, forcing many free slaves in low-paying, unskilled jobs. Now, see, this is after slavery, y'all. Lack of land ownership. Despite promise of 40 acres in a mule, see, most former slaves did not receive land, leaving them reliant on working for their former masters. You see? So they want you to believe that all of us were slaves. And that's simply not true. If we were slaves, then where them 200 cities come from? And was more cities than that. Queen Khalifa. California was named after Queen Khalifa. Do y'all understand? America's was a melanated country, and it still is. But they destroyed our people, they destroyed our land, they destroyed our cities. And they come up with the slave stories. And that we came from Africa. That they brought us here on slave ships. But when you do the research, you see all that is lies. And this the whole with the Alex Haley Roots is a lie. But most people don't know this. And I am so tired of people on the videos of our own people calling themselves African American, a name that was made in 1988. And now I always hear people saying, if they wouldn't have brought us here, well, y'all brought us here. Well, y'all took us from the motherland and brought us over here to America. I mean, I wish our people would just stop regurgitating the lies and just do the homework. And that's the reason for this channel. And there's many, many other channels on all social media, from Instagram to Facebook to TikTok to YouTube. There's many people on here. We know who we are. We know we're indigenous Americans. We know we always been here. We know we're not from Africa. And Africans know we're not from Africa. There's no African person coming from Africa over here looking for their long lost relatives. These people come over here from Africa to make money and send it back to their own country, to their own people in their own land. And they know we're not the same people. We were called the American Negro at one point. We were always here. We had the cities here, 5 times bigger than London cities. That's why they called America the New World. It was a place like they'd never seen before, and it was inhabited by us. But anyway, let me show you. Let's keep going. Freed slaves faced significant discrimination and limited access to education and political participation. Some free slaves migrated to other regions seeking better opportunities and escaping the South's oppressive conditions. All right. So you see, when you see both sides of the story, you see that the lies, they don't make sense. They don't jive, right? They don't jive at all. I'm just reading this right here. Without federal land compensation, without federal land compensation or any compensation, many ex-slaves were forced into sharecropping, tenancy farming, convict lease, or some form of menial labor arrangement aimed at keeping them economically subservient and tied to land owned by former slaveholders. And see, think about this too. We were sharecropping and things of that nature, right? If we came from Africa, we wouldn't know what to grow over here. We wouldn't know what foods, how to till this land. That's why our people, when you go back and do your genealogy, you'll find out that a lot of your people were farmers. If you go do your genealogy, you'll find that a lot of your people were farmers. They owned stores, they had businesses, they owned land, they were school teachers, and they were not slaves. But that's the narrative they want to push on everybody. Mainstream media want to push that we are all descendants of slave, that white people came and enslaved us all. And that's not the truth. And that's why this truth has got to get out. We had cities 5 times bigger than London. And a lot of our cities, with the video shows, they are underwater. That is the truth. And a lot of our places were burned down. And a lot of our places that we own were actually taken over by whites. Our people were, in some cases, they wiped the whole towns out in the middle of the night, just killing people. And then they slept in the same bed, took over the homes and the farms of the people that were already there. They killed them and just took over. But they don't want to tell that part of history. See, they want you to think we just all were slaves and Abraham Lincoln set us free. When in fact, we owned the cities. We owned the lands. We were the people that they saw when they got here. There was a place like they'd never seen. That's why they called it the New World. And our people were not savages. Our people were friendly. But these people came over here and they stole the land. They stole everything. So now you can see from the video to this, now we got a problem, a discrepancy problem. Because according to the video, that we created cities within the 40 years after getting out. I mean, as soon as we got out of slavery, we all got together and we just started creating these cities and towns. But according to this, we didn't own no land. That we had lack of land ownership and access to capital. So that's what I was saying. How did we build cities after getting out? If we were all enslaved, how did we build these cities? And where did we get the land from to build them on? See, that's why the history here is lies. And if you just think, if you just go to debunk it, you can debunk this crap. It's lies. Now let me show you the people who were coming here. This is real simple. Okay, this is simple. Immigrants, Europeans coming to America. See? Like I said, European migrants have been a major part of the population of the United States since 1800s. The largest waves of immigration occurred in the 1850s, 1870s, and the 1880s. And I'm gonna tell you, and it also came all the way to the 1900s. Now, this is this is what I'm telling you. This is when they were bringing these people in here. So let's look. Let's look at the images now. Here they come by the boatloads. Look. See this? Look at all these immigrants. Let me get back over here because this hate this cookies thing. I don't agree with cookies, y'all. So I'm gonna do the cookies thing. So let me go to another picture. I'm telling you, put that cookie stuff up. But a lot of times they show you when these Europeans was coming to America. See? Look at this. This is the biggest wave. They came in major waves, first from northern and western Europe in the early 19th century, then from southern Eastern Europe between 1860 and 1920. And yep, and this is the era when most of the white so-called European Americans, and that's what they don't care about. That's when they came to America. And this is when we owned our towns and our cities, and they were coming in about waves, boatloads. Look at all of them. They were coming into America. And so, let's see. Look at all this. By the boatloads, y'all. All coming in America. European migrants. And these are the real people that was coming to America on the ships. And a lot of this was during the late 1800s, 1900s. And this was the area where it started the race wars as they kept on continually bringing these migrants here from Europe. And they kept bringing them in and kept bringing them in and kept bringing them in. Where were all these people going to live coming to America, right? If we were already here and they were coming, that's going to cause a big conflict. But the United States government knew that. And that's why they were bringing them here. Because now you got armies. Now you got armies of these people coming here to this country, to our lands that we already had cities and towns. And this is what they won't show you. They'll never show you the truth. These are the people that were coming in. Look at them. See, 1920. They were coming in all over. So they were bringing these people here, and this caused these race wars. This was causing the race wars because these people were colliding. They needed a place to stay. They had somewhere to go. And this is what? This is 1908. I don't know it. 1908 National Archives. Immigrant Children. Ellis Island in New York. 1908. And that's what I'm saying. That's what most people don't know. That most of these European people, they actually came in later on. And this is the same time the race wars were going on across America at the same time because the immigrants were coming in. They were bringing all the immigrants in at this time. And this is when the majority of them were coming in. And this is when our towns, supposedly, our towns were, the race wars started up. When they're bringing all these immigrants by the boatloads coming to America. Here's Germans. German immigration boomed in the 19th century. And so while they was bringing in more people, we owned the cities, we owned the land. And that after a while, they had the race wars and they started it and they wiped our people, they wiped out our cities and our lands. And a lot of places they just took over. But that part of history they don't show you. They won't tell you about. Here's another one, Ellis, 1907. See, I'm not gonna agree to cookies. I don't want that on my feed. So y'all see, you see that these were the people that were coming in the 1900s in the race wars in America. So most of them usually started after that time frame. They go all the way back. They even hit them all the way to the 1960s. Race wars in America, race wars, 1900s. Called many race riots and massacres, including the Atlanta Race Massacre of 1906, the Red Summer of 1919. These events were marked by white violence against Black people and were often fueled by labor conflicts, immigration, and desire to maintain white supremacy. See, labor issues and also because we owned everything. In 1906, a mob attacked and killed Black men in Atlanta, Georgia, including a disabled Civil War veteran. White rioters killed Black residents in East St. Louis after a Black on white shooting. A period of white on Black violence that affect many cities across the United States, including Chicago. Of course, we everybody know about the Tulsa, Oklahoma, and a lot of these race wars, they were covered up. That a lot of them was not even mentioned. Not to mention the drowning of the cities. Okay, so that's when these people were coming into America, and a lot of times that's what started the race wars. Now let's look at the copper color people, right? Copper color people. Now, according to the definition of an American, This is the definition of America. This is the original definition of America right here. A native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored people, races found here by Europeans, but now applied to descendants of Europeans born in America. So it reversed. So now the Americans are now the Europeans. Europeans are now called American, but originally it applied to who? The copper-colored races that were found here. Now, out of these two people, which one is copper colored? Is it this person right here? This is what you call the $5 Indian today. Oh, now this person is white. It looks white. But today, everybody consider this person an Indian and she's just black. She's an African American. But she is the American. See, but now applied to descendants of Europeans born in America. So they stole our name, our land, and our identity. And the definition states it right there. Found here by the Europeans, but now applied to descendants of Europeans born in America. They took your identity. And now we call ourselves just black people. We're just black. Look at these people. This Chief Warhorse. American Indian. See, African American folklore or American Indian. That's Chief Warhorse right there. In the first issue of African American Folklore distributed by the Black History Month of 2020, I wrote an article called Copper Color Races, Why Aren't Black Indians Part of Black History Month? The thesis was the importance of the celebration founded by Carter G. Woodson. It seemed the same cast of characters were always being celebrated in recent decades, considering this group of Black folk that truly would be considered Black American or even American Black. That is rarely mentioned in the celebration of Black History Month. They are called copper-colored people. Chief Warhorse, Ellen Warhorse, Queen. Now her, Chief Warhorse, she details the true history about her people and her family. And Queen Tanufka Nation and the chief of the Choctaw tribe, she says we are excluded from the Democratic, Republican, Independence parties, whatever party. You don't hear anybody say anything about the original indigenous copper-colored people. They talk in black and white. So who are the copper-colored races and how is it relevant to African Americans? According to the American Dictionary in English, the Native American, also called Indians, were described as originally applied to Aboriginal or copper-colored races found here by Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. The latter part of the definition is telling, however, we're discussing the copper-colored people. To be direct, the term copper-colored is equivalent to a Negro people. Phoenix Moon is a colonial American historian, forensic genealogist, civil rights activist, and grassroots political legalist, said miseducation, propaganda, and disconnection of general family history play a part. Roots have been embedded in people's minds, but the truth about roots was never exposed properly, such as Alex Haley being charged with plagiarism, which I just told y'all, right? Several times, and he stole that story. That was an us story, but it was his story. And it certainly wasn't the story for all so-called African Americans here. She goes on to say the displaced feelings yearning for belonging primarily affect Black Americans, considering the substantial gap between the original viewing of the made for television program Roots. Many experience racism, are often told they belong somewhere else. History and tradition seems to tell a different story. Chief Warhurst shares that when Europeans, French, and Spaniards arrived on the American shores, they saw Black Indians trading, though they were described them as red carpet colored. It's even documented that early voyagers who came to America, journalists, that they encountered Ethiopians or people who looked to be. Does that mean they interacted with Africans? Michael Gomez, professor of history and the Middle Eastern Islamic Studies and founder Association for the Studies of Worldwide African Diaspora, says his book Reversing Sail that the term Ethiopian was at times applied by the Greeks to Arabs, Indians, and others of dark hue, and is often used inaccurately to refer to Nubians. Carlos Marquez, the ethnologist, botanist, military general, and historian, said the Negro type is seen in the most ancient Mexican sculpture. The Negro figure frequently in the most remote tradition of some American pueblos. It is to this race doubtlessly belonging the most ancient skeletons, see, distinct from the red American race, which has been found in various places from Bolivia to Mexico. Is likely that we repeat America was a Negro continent. And you see, it was a Negro continent. And those cities that were underwater were of Black peoples or Negroes or the American Indians, the indigenous people here. And when they brought those people in the 1900s, in the late 1800s, 1900s, those people, that's what started those race wars. And they end up taking over our land, murdering many people, and they wanted to hide the history. The history the government wanted to hide was America belonged to the African American today. It's called the African American. The ones that are in the projects, the ones that's living in the ghettos today, the ones who don't know who they are, whose history has been stolen, whose land has been stolen from them. And this is easily to prove. Okay. The many African Americans that have taken to Ancestry.com weren't just looking to connect to African tribes. They were also checking, researching, and verifying their connection as American Indian. William Cates, author of Black Indians, A Hidden Heritage, and Patrick Mint. See, first of all, it's not hidden. It's what they don't want you to know. The Europeans will never want you to know that you own this land, that America from sea to sea, from shore to shore, to sea to sea, was after the African Americans were here. And that's why you don't see those Native Americans nowhere. Where was the Native American cities that was underwater? What happened to their cities? Because if they were the people that were on this land truly, it would have been millions of them. You could never wipe them all out. But that's why they could never wipe us out. And they've been trying to do it from Margaret Sanger all the way up till now, Planned Parenthood. They've been trying to wipe us out. They wanted to hide this history. That's why this history will never be told on TV. Oh, we're just Black, or we just colored, or we just African Americans. We came from slave ships. We brought you here. Those are all lies. Anyway, so y'all can watch this or read this, did I say? And that's what I'm going to get into this. All right. I know I'm missing some good information in here. The propaganda of the Indian Removal Act, reclassification, though other tactics were employed, the lynching of the Jim Crow South enforced the reclassification from Indians to Black Americans. Yep. Waldo says it became illegal to be Indian. That's right. When they were hanging all them folks down in the South on those trees, a lot of folks were hanging in the trees because they wouldn't forget they were Choctaw, Chickasaw, Cherokees, and Creek, said Wesley. Martin Luther King Jr. said the Negro is exiled in his own land during his infamous I Have a Dream speech. And that is so true. His speech is often quoted, but possibly that specific statement was not fully received. So there you have it, y'all. And I could go deeper into this and pull up some more information of the copper color races and the people of what they saw. that were here in America already. That's why they get rid of the mascot. Look at the old, if you look at all the old, if you look at all the old posters concerning America, like this right here. Look at this. See America? Where's the Native American that look like this? See? America. This is an old poster that was created years ago. Just like this one right here. Look, this was created in 1790. Indian Princess America. Look at her. So where's the Native American that look like this? Because now a Native American don't look like this anymore. This is now a black person. This is the Native American today. But these people are not the people that they saw. They were copper colored. See, like the penny. See? Different shades of copper. But yet in mainstream does not teach what I'm showing you on this video. That's why the so-called Redskins mascot was changed. It was the Washington Redskins at one point. But now they changed it. It's not the Washington Redskins. They call themselves the Commandos now. See? Look at the Americans. Look at the frogs. These were all older pictures, but now these are so-called African Americans. And these people here, right here, is not a Native American today, but not the copper color people. No, they're black. Not these people here. They just black people now. So let's look at the redskin. Watch this, Redskins. Let's see if we get that. See the Redskins? My man, he was showing you right there. And the reason why they got rid of this helmet, this mascot here, and they call it Commandos, because look at it. Nobody on the reservation was this color. This was a brown-skinned Indian, American Indian. Look at that. Brown skin. But they don't look that way anymore. And let me show you Native Americans today. And there's a difference between a Native American and an Aboriginal American. And most people don't know that. Let's look at Native Americans. Let's look at Native American people. Let's get their images up. Oh, it's got copper color still there. I want to get that off of here. Oh, Native American people. Okay, here they go today. No. Now you see the difference. No. These people are not the originals. These are not the Aboriginals. These are not copper color races. Look at this. Is this a Native American? But he going around believing he's a Native American. Or is he a Native American? Hmm? Or maybe is she a Native American? No. This is not what they saw. This is not the people they saw. So how did they go to look like this when the original people, let's look at like I said, the tobacco packages, right? Let's look at the original tobacco packages. I spelled that wrong. I don't care. And these are the originals. So if you go back at the old tobacco packages, this is what you're gonna find. Right here. They look just like this. Now look at that. Why What happened to these people? See the hair? Look at the tobacco packages. See, Black Indians, indigenous Negroes were often used in what? See? You see if they got a story on this. See? Were often used in colonial tobacco advertisements during early trade of the American continent. This trade card Old Tobacco features two black boys in indigenous garb in the distinct Aboriginal feather head feathers, 1700s. So, question is, how come they didn't look like this? How come the Native Americans don't look black today? How come they don't look like this today? Look at this. See? Look at the white man in Virginia, the king. See? Look at the Indian. It's a black person. But why they don't show this today? They're never going to tell the truth. So when you see the images, here's another one. Here you go again. These are the original tobacco packages. Look, the best Virginia tobacco from the Office of Sale. This is 1703. Look at the Indian. Look at the froze. Where is the long stringy hair at? Where are the Native Americans? Look at the fro. See that? These are early depictions of the Indian. But now the Indian is something totally different now. Here's 1821. Look at the Indian. Let's look at this one. These are real packages, y'all. So where's the lie coming from? Tobacco plantations with workers, a Mexican Indian, and two European foremen. See, look at the Indians. Look. See? Look at the Indians. Anyway, y'all, I proved my point and showing that the video has a lot of truth in it, but the lie is that the biggest lie in the video that I see is that we got these cities after they freed us. Europeans freed us then they got jealous of us because we were prosperous, and then they wanted to come back and destroy us. That's not what happened. The cities were already there. And they were bringing in more and more Europeans during this time to help take over America and take over our cities and our lands. And that's why, to cover them up, they actually put them underwater. And then a lot of them were burnt down. A lot of places were wiped out and not even spoken of again. But it was so many of us here that you could never get rid of all of us. And also, you notice there were 200 black cities that were underwater. Where was the Native American at? Where were these people at? Where was the Native American that they call a Native American today? They were nowhere to be found, and there's no history on them. They came about later on. I'm gonna put Native Americans today. Today. Put the image of these people. So now these are Native Americans now. Look, where were they? Where were their cities at? There were 200 black cities. You didn't see nobody in those cities that looked like them. But I say these are the people that they use. They're part of the government organization of the 5 civilized tribes. And these people are going around like they are the Native Americans, and they playing a role. They're being paid too. They're being paid. And these are now American Indians. And I tell you, no way. No way. They don't look like the Redskin helmet, right? They don't look like that at all. This is the lie that's being told today. Now the Indian went from this to this. And these are just European people. That's it. European, Hispanics, just European people. Anyway, y'all, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll catch y'all on the next one. I know I made this one a little bit too long, but the truth has got to come out sometime. Somebody got to wake up.